My name is Saman, and with me is Jason Book, writer and artist of meandhimcomic.tumblr.com. So thanks, Jason, for being here.
Hey, anytime, Sam.
In this video, we're going to be talking about our top 5 Batman costumes or Batman suits from the comic books. And we're going to kind of cover a lot of the variations and ones that have stuck out to us for different reasons. So we're going to go through them in no particular order, but these are the 5 that we put on our list. I am going to start with kind of a classic version of the Batman costume, and I'm thinking now of sort of the Neil Adams classic one with the blue cape, the oval yellow emblem in the center, and your kind of, stereotypical Batman look. So what do you think about this classic one, Jason?
It's kind of that classic line that someone once said about John Romita, the senior Spider-Man. When they close their eyes and think of what Spider-Man looks like, that's what it looked like. When you close your eyes and think about what Batman looks like, from a lot of action figures, cartoons, and comics for many years, this is the one. Neil Adams really kind of took something that was, a little bit 60s and campy and made it a little more Creature of the Night, Dark Avenger, and had a realism to it that we hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, this one, makes the list because it is so classic and it has, survived through a lot of different media.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I'm not the biggest fan of the blue cape. I kind of like now where it's really kind of transitioned over to the black cape.
Right.
And a lot of people now might really just think, oh, isn't it always black?
Yeah.
And it actually kind of started black,
That's right.
and the blue is fine, but I do kind of prefer the black if I had a choice.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
But yeah, that one too, and the emblem, doing the oval emblem is how a lot of people, they just, when they think of the Batman emblem, it's in that yellow oval automatically.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge marketing thing as well. I mean, think of how many T-shirts and everything we've seen like that for so many years, right?
Yeah. But now we'll go to another one on our list, which has some slight changes, and it brings in the black like I was talking about. And this is the New 52 Batman suit, designed by Jim Lee with the New 52 relaunch in 2011. And this one goes black and gray, and it gets rid of the oval, and it just puts the bat emblem straight onto the chest. And so I actually like those changes.
Mm-hmm.
I like the ear height, which is always a point of discussion about Batman suits.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on the gray, and also going to a utility belt instead of the sort of briefs?
Yeah, I think it's a great look for Batman currently. It's kind of, you expect it to be, in a way, the best one so far because it's taking things from everything that's come before it. So it has that element of looking like a realistic crime-fighting suit. It has the classic black cowl and cape look. Short ears, kind of more realistic for the actual crime-fighting part. And I just like that they have little kind of technical things thrown in there that they can kind of adapt as the story goes. So it works well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm a fan of the way that they have the gold utility belt there without the briefs. Right. I know some people are really traditionalists and fans of the briefs on Batman and Superman. I don't think they're really necessary. I think it can be clearly Batman and clearly Superman even without the briefs.
Totally, it works well. It was something that was there for years. When I see it in a retro story or in an alternate, universe story, it still works. But yeah, it does lend itself to the way storytelling is now without the underwear, I would say.
Yeah, and I like too with the New 52, they give a little bit of a nod to The Dark Knight Returns with the colors and putting that on the chest with a kind of a larger emblem.
Yes.
It's not the same emblem as Dark Knight Returns, but I think it's at least giving a nod in that direction.
Totally, yeah. We're going to see more of that, I think, as we get closer to the movie as well.
Yeah, with the movie coming out, having a similar kind of gray, more of a cloth feel with the black on top and the broader emblem right on the chest.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we're going to go in a completely different direction. So we're going to go to Batman Beyond, which started in a TV show, but we still included it on our list of comic book Batman costumes because it's shown up in the comic books quite a lot. So what are your thoughts on Batman Beyond?
I really enjoy it because it's such a redesign. And, I remember reading about it and people were like, you can't take the cape off of a Batman suit. Well, we've seen that proven wrong many times, especially depending on story lines and other Batman comics. But it was just a great redesign. I like that it was all black and then with the red emblem, it really popped. I like that the cowl completely covered the face, but he had like a slit for a mouth that really kind of gave you a different look. Kind of similar to a Spider-Man look where anyone could be Spider-Man under that suit. Well, anyone could have been Batman Beyond too. Worked well and it really played up the teenage kind of aspect and a little bit more fun to the Batman role.
Yeah, it's a very striking look. You're right about the red. The red really pops out. I think in my traditional Batman suit, I like it to be the black and gray because it blends into the night and the shadows more.
Sure.
But there is a kind of a visual stunning factor to have that red popping out. So I think that it visually does work well. And this one looks very much like a bat.
Oh yeah.
You can kind of see that bat, and it almost seems like a little bit of a cross between a human and an sort of bat animal flying rodent. So the other ones are very clearly like a man in it, and he has this cape coming out. But this one, as he's flying, he has the little wing things underneath. I think it's almost the most bat-like, and it almost seems like it's a human that's almost part bat in a sense.
Totally. And I've always said one day I wouldn't be surprised if we see this suit somehow in one of the movies, because I think it would work really well cinematically too.
Wow. All right, let's go in a different direction. So this is now from Gotham by Gaslight, and this one is a very popular suit for action figures and things like that. It's really a look that has struck a chord with the fans.
Yes. So Mike Mignola designed this. He was the artist on that one shot. And that goes to show you about the suit too. That came out in 1989, I think. That's a long time ago, and it's still popular because they took something really cool. You did Batman fighting Jack the Ripper. So what would the suit have been like if it was made that many years ago? So they actually made it like it would be. Lots of layers to it, big heavy gloves, the suit. A good Batman suit, you can still have that silhouette of the classic Batman look, but when you get close, you see it's got big eyes and you can actually see his face more in there. But it really just worked well for what something would look like from that time, and it didn't look hokey or anything. It was really cool and had kind of a weight to it.
Yeah, I agree. I really like. I think the goggles kind of on the eyes, and the fact that there's that layer kind of fabric over the shoulders, but then the longer kind of trench coat coming out underneath. So it gives you the Batman silhouette, but it is made up more like that era. It just really works well. And then we're getting some little nods to it, I think, in Batman v Superman with this Nightmare Batman.
Yeah.
Just the gear that he has, or Desert Batman, as some people call him.
Yeah.
It's different, but I think a little bit of it is a nod to Gotham by Gaslight.
Yeah, that's going to be cool to see that scene. I'm just remembering that.
All right, and that brings us to the end of our list, the top 5 Batman costumes from the comic books. And it was a little bit hard to narrow this to 5. We definitely wanted to go to Alex Ross. We're both fans of his art. So we talked a little bit about the Alex Ross armor version of Batman, which is a pretty striking, unique take on it. But the one that we ended up including as our number 5, in no particular order, but our 5th one, is Alex Ross Justice. This classic Batman here look. So Jason, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I just like it a lot because it's just, to me, it looks exactly like a realistic interpretation of Batman. It actually has like the cowl goes right into his eyes almost, and you can tell that it's supposed to be that he's got his eyelids painted underneath, so it looks like there's no stopping where the mask, stops and starts. It's just all one thing. Huge emblem. We were talking about emblems earlier. When I first saw him draw it, I'm like, this looks way too big. But when you see it, especially in an action figure form or a statue or something, it's really striking. It's got the black cape elements and cowl like we were talking about. A little longer ears, but there's just such a weight and a realism to the suit itself. And it has a huge utility belt, which is kind of cool because a lot of times you think, how could he actually have the batarangs in his utility belt and all these things? Well, this suit really encapsulates that. And it does have the trunks. That's probably the only drawback.
Yeah, but it does kind of work, so the oversized emblem kind of matches with the cape and the larger ears and then the larger utility belt. So the fact that he goes kind of all in on it, it all kind of matches as a set. Where some of the other ones where they just put the longer ears on, where they kind of will look different. And sometimes the longer ears will have a really nice silhouette on a certain shot, but it might not work in all the scenes. But this one, it has Alex Ross's really unique take on it. Brings that realism to it. So yeah, this one is very striking, and it does almost send that signal of like Batman could be this real person.
Totally, right? That's what I loved about it, and that's one of the things about his artwork that, he's trying to make it look as realistic as possible, so it just had to be this way for the suit, and it works well.
Yeah, and the larger emblem I think can work if it's done well, and this one it does look good. The emblem can be a little tricky. Like one of the things that always bothered me about the old TV show with Adam West
Mm.
was they had the oval emblem, but I always felt like it was too low. Like it was like below his sort of sternum. I'm like, why is that down there? It's supposed to be like up on his chest. This one's placed well.
Yeah, with the Adam West one, we didn't include it, but it was in my preliminary list just because it was so different. But you can tell they designed that suit probably before they actually put it on somebody.
And then just left it for a lot of episodes. I'm like, really? Could they not move the emblem up to on the chest, which I think would be a lot better?
Oh, I know, yeah.
But I mean, one thing about this last suit that we're talking about is Alex Ross is so unique in his style and the painting kind of style,
Hmm.
and it's Alex Ross kind of all the way. I
Yep.
did want to say about the new 52 suit, one thing that I think works well with it is that a lot of different artists can draw it and it looks good.
Yes, that's true.
Like you have Jim Lee designed it, it looks good, and when he Justice League, but Greg Capullo, it looks good when he's doing it, it
That's
looks
true.
good.
Yeah,
It always looks good, and that was one thing we talked about with the Superman New 52 suit. I
that's
think that
true
the
too.
Superman New 52 suit has this potential to be really good, but it's challenging, and some artists kind of fumble it.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more going on in the design. It could have been a little simpler, I think, right? With
Yeah,
the Batman one, you know, it's got those little tweaks and lines that can be there, but doesn't have to be super accentuated depending on who's drawing it.
yeah. So, all right, so that's our list. There's a lot more, so if you have some other thoughts, drop those down in the comments, but those were the ones we wanted to share, so thanks so much for doing that, Jason.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, Sam.